Was I raised in a fractured or unified home? In what way did my father and mother interact with themselves? And if that is necessary, you need purging. What responsibility comes with my role or position in the family? Makes you know the things you must put in place before you say you are ready for marriage. I'm really bring in another man and you make him carry the burden that will overweigh him, or bring in another woman that does not have an emotional strength or capacity to carry the load of what your responsibility demand. How does my family view divorce and separation? I beg you, look for mentorship. What values does my family value? Go for book, read books on marriage, listen to messages on marriage, go for seminar. Am I obsessed or fanatical about my tribe or my language or my race? If you're a suspicious person or you have issues with trust, you might just want to stay with someone that you speak the same language and you uphold the same cultural belief. And lastly, do I have knowledge of my genotype, my blood group, and vital health information? If you answer these 7 from your background, I can tell you, you have settled a lot of possible things that can raise their ugly head in marriage. Then finance. That's about possibly communication and religion. Yeah. Finance. The first thing to ask yourself in readiness for marriage financially, must I be earning an income prior to getting married? Must I be earning prior to getting, either through job, either through business? It doesn't matter how. What matters now, it matters how. It must be legal and religious, and it must be legal and righteous. But either it's business or job, you must settle the fact that I must have a source of income. To some people, they will tell you, no matter how little, as long as I can take care of my personal needs, I am good to go. You must settle that. That's the first thing. Because this subject matter of finance, this subject matter of finance is a big deal. It's a big deal that is seldomly spoken about. Sometimes we exaggerate a lot of things and we go quiet on finance. And I have really seen how finance has made a mess of genuine couples truly love one another, but love does not pay the bills. Love does not excuse responsibilities. When there are certain shame that will knock on your marital door, that will really strain your love and your connection towards one another. It will really strain your love and your connection towards one another just because of finances. There can be a demand and a need at the home front because your husband cannot respond to it or your wife cannot respond to it. Finance is a big deal. I'm talking to you with all of my heart. I cannot overemphasize it. It's a big deal and you have to answer it. If you're in a promising relationship and you are hearing things like, baby, don't worry, we'll be fine. Don't worry. I will always look for something for you at the end of the month. And you know that anytime you are financially incapacitated, it affects your mood, it affects your coordination, it affects your atmosphere. Please ask for more time. Let me land a job. Just give me 3 to 6 months, to kickstart my business or to stabilize my thing to principally consider in your readiness for marriage. To principally examine. I'm not saying you have to be a thousandaire or millionaire, but it is sometimes relieving. Let me use that word. It is sometimes relieving when your day-to-day needs can be sorted without pressure and demand on the other person. It is very relieving. So, must I be earning an income prior to marriage? The second question, am I comfortable with my partner earning higher than me, especially men? Some men strongly believe that their honor is at stake, the humility of their spouse is at stake, and their respect is at stake once their spouse is earning higher than them. Are you mature enough that in your readiness for marriage, you ask yourself, if my spouse happens to earn more than me, am I okay? Am I good to go? Is it perfect for me? What will be my disposition? What will be my disposition to my partner earning more than me? And as a female, you also ask yourself, am I humble enough to marry a man I am earning more than? Because sometimes when we are desperate, we start shouting, it's not a big deal, it's not a big deal, babe, it's not a big deal. Are you sure that you will not wear the crown or earning higher? Don't, because of delay and desperation, cover up some things and say you are ready for marriage. The first thing that you'll be tested for in marriage is not how well you love one another, is how prepared you came. The first thing that will be tested in your marriage is not how well you love one another, is how prepared you came. Is how prepared you came. So before you say, I don't have an issue with me any more than my partner, as long as he's doing his beats and I'm doing my beats, be sure that there's no tendency of arrogance in you. Be sure that there's no tendency of using very saucy words on your partner. Be sure that you don't have that such tendency. Because some ladies, let me just tell you, let me just break everything. The only thing that brings you on the knee of submission is that your man is a provider. That's the only thing that cups some ladies. That if you see a lady that is saying yes, my husband is my Lord, my husband, is because that man is servicing the need back to back. So if it comes to that, you have to know if you are ready. Am I ready to marry a man I am earning above? And if truly you are ready, check your immunity gauge, check your tolerance gauge, and check how well you can cover him before family and friends. Are you sure you will not be flamboyant enough for them to know that you make things happen? You have to consider that. And if you're a man, are you sure you are not greedy? Are you sure it's not greed that is making you say, me my wife, they help pass me now, no problem, no challenge. No challenge. I don't get issue. Are you sure it's not greed or laziness? You must be sure it's not greed or laziness. Because some men, they are so conscious of their ego. They will go to any length to preserve that ego. And one of it can be your scale of income. The third one. Do I believe family expenses should be shared, or is a man thing? Do I believe that family expenses should be splitted, should be shared, or is a man thing? Babe, when we get there, it's not a big deal. When we get there, we always sort of, is it not me and you that we used to gist and play? When we get there, we sit down and talk about it. It's not money. Money is nobody's mate. When you get there, you suddenly become emotionally deaf. You suddenly become less understanding. What are you talking about? It cannot walk, it can't fly, not here. And I'll be like, babe, I thought you said we'll talk about it when we get there. We are talking about it, and that's why I'm responding. Everything I've been saying, is it not what? Is it not response? It's response. It cannot work. So just know, don't, because you know why this thing actually happens this way is that when you really get married, your needs and your expenses, they are not much. But as you begin to grow, children comes in, you want to start up a business, you want to start investing, things begin to pile up. Or you want to take some staff, maybe a chef, to relieve you because you are busy. So men actually express love better when they are helped and assisted by their spouse. And it really meant a lot to me. when they are helped and assisted by their spouse, that relief that they feel from that assistance. So ask yourself, as I am going into marriage now, one of the things to consider that I am ready is I'm asking myself, babe, are you game for a split, or you think it's a man's thing? I'm telling you, till Jesus will come, some people will ever remain adamant that provision is a man's thing. I'm telling you, it cannot change. To some people, it's a cultural thing. To some people, it's to make care of everything. To some, see, we see life from different perceptions, and don't ever think that these things don't exist. You will hear some people's perspective about life, and you are shocked. And you're like, are you living in Mars or in Pluto? We are living on Earth together, but that's their perception, and you can't take it away from them. Then you begin to undo it with frustration, with pain, with anger, with disappointment, with withdrawal. Know in your mind, I'm looking for a partner that believes in expenditure sharing. There are some men like that. They will let you know, I'm looking for a woman that believes in expenditure sharing. I don't believe I should be the only one taking care of it. And they are very truthful. And that is a measure of their readiness. And you can't look away from it. And you can't joke and say, he's joking when we get there. Don't say that, oh, because he made you know. And some women will tell you, I'm not the kind of woman that would bring 50-50. Oh. I don't believe in it. They will tell you. It's part of your readiness check. Number 4. What's my perspective about borrowing and taking loans? You have to know. You have to know. What is my perspective about borrowing and taking loans? Somebody like me, I strongly don't believe in taking loans or borrowing, because the Bible said the borrower will always remain lower and lesser than the lender. And I believe that anything you borrow to do, even borrowing airtime, I don't do it. And that's disciplined to myself. To borrow airtime, I would rather not make that call. I really cannot wrap my head around it. Borrowing, not to now talk of taking loans. And imagine that my spouse now believes in it, which he doesn't. Imagine he now believes in it. How do we now agree? So we want to start up a small business, a poultry, a rabbit farm, a fish business, fish farming. And then we're like, okay, babe, let's plan about this. We're going to be bringing 30% of our income as savings for the next 2 years or 1.5 years to start up this business. We can take loan now. So no, I don't believe in it. You can't tell me that. We have to start tomorrow. We have to start. And from there, do you know that some partner can go ahead and take that loan without that agreement or without the other person's involvement and permission? And it's going to be a hell in that home. What is your perception about borrowing and taking loans? It's a readiness check. It's a readiness check. At the end of the day, when you sit down to listen to the things that have become